As the war between the United States, Israel, and Iran enters its fifth day, a new front may be opening inside Iran itself. A CNN report says Washington is in talks with Kurdish opposition groups to arm them and support an uprising against Tehran. US officials reportedly hope Kurdish fighters could stretch Iranian forces, potentially sparking popular protest or unrest inside Iran. Some Kurdish groups may also try to seize territory in northern Iran, creating what analysts describe as a strategic buffer zone for Israel. US President Donald Trump is also reported to have spoken to Kurdish leaders in Iraq, including Masoud Barzani and Bafil Talabani, as discussions continue. At least one Kurdish leader has confirmed the conversation. Kurds are one of the largest ethnic groups in the Middle East without a state of their own. They live across Iran, Iraq, Syria, and Turkey, and several Kurdish groups have long sought greater autonomy or self-governance. Some Iranian Kurdish groups have carried out attacks against Tehran in Iran's western provinces, operating from bases along the mountainous Iran-Iraq border. Now, as the war escalates, Kurdish fighters could become a new pressure point against Iran. Washington has long history of working with Kurdish forces in the region. After the 1991 Gulf War, the US established a no-fly zone over northern Iraq, helping Kurdish groups create a semi-autonomous region that later became the Kurdistan Regional Government. More recently, the US armed and trained Kurdish Peshmerga fighters to fight ISIL in Iraq, and in Syria, Washington backed the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, which played a key role in defending the militant group. But these alliances have often been temporary and shaped by shifting US strategy in the region. And supporting rebel groups abroad has been a key part of CIA covert operations for decades. One of the earliest examples was Iran itself. In 1953, the CIA worked with Britain's MI6 to help overthrow Iran's elected Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh, replacing him with the Shah. In 1954, the CIA armed and trained rebels who helped overthrow Guatemala's President Jacobo Arbenz, an operation widely criticized for ending the country's democratic government and triggering decades of instability. During the Cold War, covert support for the armed groups became a central strategy. The CIA backed Cuban exiles during the 1961 Bay of Pigs invasion, an operation that failed within days and ultimately strengthened Fidel Castro's alliance with the Soviet Union. In Afghanistan, the CIA ran Operation Cyclone, one of its largest covert programs, sending billions of dollars in weapons to Afghan fighters battling Soviet forces. And in Central America, the US funded and trained these contra-rebels in Nicaragua during the 1980s, a program that sparked major controversy in Washington over human rights abuses and secret funding. Across these conflicts, armed rebels has been used as a way for Washington to weaken rival governments without direct military intervention. But the strategy has also produced mixed results and unintended consequences. In Afghanistan, some of the militant networks that emerged during the anti-Soviet war later contributed to long-term instability and extremist groups in the region. The Bay of Pigs invasion failed outright, strengthening the Cuban government and deepening Cold War tensions. And in countries like Guatemala, US-backed interventions helped trigger decades of political violence and civil war. These cases illustrate the risk of blowback when the covert operations produced consequences that eventually undermined US interest. Now, with reports of talks between the US and Kurdish fighters, that long history is back in focus. If Kurdish groups are armed and drawn into the conflict, the war between the US, Israel, and Iran could expand beyond missiles and airstrikes into a new insurgency inside Iran itself. And history shows that once these conflicts begin, their consequences can last for decades.